It is spring here in Pennsylvania. The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, and it is a perfect day to start some spring cleaning here in Pennsylvania. Thanks for the effect, folks, thanks. It helps create that picture of what I'm getting at. Like many of you, I have spent the past few weekends doing some spring cleaning of my own at my own home. We have combed through closets, we have gone through drawers, we have gone through the garage, and our goal has been to get rid of some of that clutter and the unneeded, unused, outdated things that are in our house. I had a pile of items to donate to charity, a pile for those items to sell at a future yard sale, and a pile of those things that you just need to throw into the trash, like my teal blue 1990s platform teal blue sandals that I've been holding on to since high school. They really no longer have any other purpose other than to make me another 2 inches taller. They actually give me blisters. So as I was going through my house, that was one of the items that I threw into the trash. My husband is now much happier, and our house is much more tidy, orderly, and efficient. Now, our homes here in Pennsylvania are not the only things that need a good spring cleaning. Our Commonwealth has thousands of regulations on the books, and many of these were enacted before many of us here in this room were even born. Many of them have yet to be re-examined and evaluated to gauge their relevance, appropriateness, cost, and effectiveness. And Mr. Speaker, I think some of the bills today are a great example of some of those laws that we have on the books that have been outdated that need repealed. We had a bill today that was brought up on second consideration, Representative Rader's bill. Representative Mako had a repeal bill on the capital stock assessment tax. Representative Coffer had a repeal on the capital stock settlement. Representative Sankey had a repeal on the CFS tax reports. Representative Bernstein, another repeal. Representative Greiner, another repeal. Representative Grove, another repeal on the Store and Theater Tax Act. Representative Dowling, another repeal on Sunday baseball and football law, which I'm sure many of you in this room would agree with. Representative Fritz had one on Sunday Music Act, and again, Representative Fritz one on the Sunday Motion Pictures Act. Just some examples of where Pennsylvania needs to take a good, hard look at laws and regulations that are just not working for the people of Pennsylvania. Our Commonwealth does not undertake a regular and systematic independent review of existing regulations, nor does it possess an organized system to receive recommendations from the public, educators, businesses, government entities, nonprofits, and others on recommendations for repeal, modification, or revision of existing statutes and regulations. With well over 153,000, let me say that again, 153,000 regulations on our books, our state's regulatory system has become the equivalent of extreme hoarding. We do not get rid of anything in this state when it comes to regulations that are just not working for the people of Pennsylvania. We should probably call the A&E channel, and we could be on their next episode of Hoarders when it comes to regulations. Essentially, we have a whole lot of clutter on our books. We need a Marie Kondo type person to step in, review the regulations on the books, and provide recommendations to us as to what acts might need some additional review and repeal. This is exactly why Senator Kristen Phillips-Hill and I intend to do with the Independent Office of the Repealer within the Independent Regulatory Review Commission. I truly want to thank Senator Kristen Phillips-Hill for drafting this legislation in the House the last session. Since being elected to the Senate, she has introduced a version of this bill over there that's Senate Bill 251. And she has entrusted me with House Bill 1055 this session. Now, many of you know or have heard of Marie Kondo. Now, her method of determining an item's worth is that emotional connection to it, or how much joy it brings to your heart. Now, that's not what we're looking at with the Office of the Repealer. The Office of the Repealer, though, would take a good, hard, analytical look at the value of an act or regulation. Nothing in this legislation states that any particular regulation must be repealed. Let me say that again. Nothing in this bill says that a particular regulation must be repealed. The Office of the Repealer would adopt a quantitative and qualitative rubric to assess whether an existing statute or regulation is reasonable, unduly burdensome, detrimental to the economic well-being of our state, duplicative, onerous, defective, or in conflict with another statute or regulation. Then it would get to work performing a full systemic view of existing statutes, regulations, to identify those that may be appropriate for modification, revision, or repeal. The people of Pennsylvania would also have input, as the office would have an online suggestion box for the public to provide suggestions on regulations or acts for the office to review. To ensure transparency in the process, the Office of the Repealer would be subject to the right to know law. The office would also provide an annual progress report to the General Assembly and to the governor. These reports would provide recommendations of statutes or regulations needing special attention, including changes to increase efficiency and to eliminate those wasteful practices within our government. These recommendations would be provided to both the General Assembly and the agency that originally promulgated the regulation. Now, the Office of the Repealer, they don't actually repeal anything. That would be left up to us, the General Assembly. In addition to reviewing existing regulations, a provision in the legislation states that for every new regulation added by an agency, 2 must be repealed by that agency. Now, this is very similar to the federal government's approach that has been working over the past 2 years to eliminate red tape at the federal level. In the first year of this federal policy, for every 1 regulation created, there were 22 removed from the books. The federal government estimated a lifetime net regulatory cost savings of over $8.1 billion, yes, billion with a B dollars under this new policy. We would hope to see something maybe not that great here in Pennsylvania, but certainly a cost savings to the people of Pennsylvania. Now, this spring cleaning approach, it's not novel, it's not new. Again, the federal government has been doing it, and our states like Kansas, Rhode Island, Tennessee, North Carolina have all created offices similar to the Office of the Repealer. Now, these restrictions and regulations on the books, they create impediments for our individuals, our local county governments, our school districts, our nonprofits, and businesses of all shapes and sizes, limiting economic development and growth across the state. Pennsylvanians are drowning in red tape. Now, this is certainly a priority in my own home community. We've heard from our local businesses and organizations that this is one of their top priorities. We have a responsibility to make sure that government is working for the people of Pennsylvania and not against them. The Office of the Repealer will work for the people of Pennsylvania to ensure that our rules and regulations are not duplicative, not inefficient, or or overly burdensome. Ultimately, we need to start cutting the regulatory red tape so we can roll out the red carpet to welcome businesses and jobs to Pennsylvania. Thank you.